Welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. This is the part 2 of the Brewferm beer kit, which is the complete kit, minus a little capper, which will take care of that. You can buy the kits with the capper or without. This is a sponsored video because they gave us the kit and we did a big giveaway, which 3 people got hooked up. Don't forget, like, subscribe. Thank you again for sharing, been huge. I'm gonna try to go over some basics and some things that aren't as in detail in here just to make sure you're aware of them. One, if you're buying bottles, great. If you're buying the ones with the caps, measure the size, because these are 12 ounce. All of these are 12 ounce bottles, different shapes, sizes, and they've all been used. And I clean the labels off, which if you want to clean the labels, you can use OxyClean, or if you have a thing called PBW, you just soak them in hot water, leave them there for 20 minutes to a half hour, and the labels will come off pretty easy. Some labels don't come off, chuck it. And if the top, when you're doing caps, bottle caps, if it's a screw on top, just throw it in your recycle. You're not gonna be able to recap that, at least not seal it properly. So things you're gonna need. You're gonna need your Brewferm compass, which is a type of hydrometer type system, which looks like this. And we did a little cleaning with some the super wash, which basically I took all the bottles, I made sure, and if you're reusing bottles, when you open a commercial bottle, pour it into a glass, rinse the bottle twice. First time gets some of the beer out, second time gets any kind of residual, and just let it air dry. When you go to clean it, if you can get a bottle brush off Amazon or somewhere, great, just to make sure it's nice and clean. But you should be fine if you're letting it soak in the cleaner for at least a few minutes, just so it has contact. And technically, if you have a bottle brush, like a baby bottle, some of those actually fit into 12 ounce bottles really well and do a great job cleaning. So you may already have one, but it doesn't say it's no rinse, so make sure after you clean it, you rinse it off. If you're a beginning home brewer and you already have some other stuff going on, you may have Star Sand, you can use that too, it's not a big deal. Couple things. One, you're gonna wanna sterilize or sanitize, should we say, the little bottling wand. And the piece I can't get off, which is a separate, there it goes, separate little piece. You put that on and it's gonna go on the spout on the front, and we'll show you that. So you have your compass, you have that. You're gonna need some paper towels because you might make a little mess. And first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little reading just to make sure. I did have a special type of hydrometer going in here that's wireless, so I already know that we're good to go, but I'm gonna see if I can get a nice screenshot for you to show you where this has to be, and you wanna be somewhere up in the green. We're probably gonna be really high, so that's okay. And then I'll show you some other tricks we're doing to make sure that when we bottle, we don't make a big mess. First, take that off. The reason you take that off is when you're doing this and you're going to drain the liquid, if you were to leave the lid on, it's going to create suction and pull that water that's been sitting in here, and maybe anything that may have flown in or anything. You don't want it. Just take it off and set it down out of the way. Don't contaminate anything you already have clean. Let's see if I can get my hands on this thing. There we go. And it does say you're going to want to let this ferment for 7 to 10 days, but I think we're going right at about 2 weeks. It smells really nice, kind of like dark fruit, in a good way, in a very good way. Take a little screenshot. It's got some stuff on top that kind of looks like it's a infection, but I promise you it's not. It's been all good. It's been sealed. It's got some gunk up around the side. That's from the called crocin. It's basically where the yeast started to go up and it left some of the malty goodness up on the edges, kind of like a protein and material, not a big deal. What you want is the liquid. The other thing is you create a trub, which you can't see in this, but if you had a glass fermenter, you would see it, is that in the bottom, we have all the yeast that has fallen out of suspension, which means it's literally caked on the bottom. The spout is up a little higher to avoid that. So when we do the bottling, when we get towards the end, you may have some liquid that's mixing in with that. You just let it go. It won't hurt you. It's probably got a ton of B vitamins, but it's gonna be a little bitter. So definitely avoid that. Other thing you're gonna need is little buck rider shots, which are bottle shots or carbonation drops. They are 60 of them in here. You should have more than enough for what you're gonna bottle. The cool thing with this is, and I know some people out there are new to brewing or have never brewed, wouldn't quite understand this, but normally you would move this to a bottling bucket. You would add priming sugar. Priming sugar is basically a little more sugar. It can be corn sugar usually, but some people use other types of sugars, which is fine. And you measure it out, you stir it all up very carefully because you don't want to add oxygen to your beer. That's the big thing. You avoid any oxygen. Don't shake it, don't splash it around. And once you do that, then you bottle. Well, this system, we're literally going to take these and we're going to drop one in each bottle, and then we're going to add the beer. We're going to put the cap on it, and we're done. That's it. So there's no secondary or bottling bucket needed because your fermenter is your bottling bucket. So it makes life a little easier, a little more simplistic, less things to have to worry about, less things to have to clean. It's always good. Okay, I'm going to take a screenshot in here for you with the little, go ahead and lower that in there, which, oh yeah, it's sitting pretty. And also I'll show you a little trick with what we're going to do for bottling. As you can see, there's all kinds of lovely things floating around in here, but we're fine. There's no infection. As you can see, let's see if I can zoom way in. There you go. You can see the green. That's what you want. You want it up around the green. That says fermentation's done. Other little trick that we're doing is, you see, here's our bottling. And what we're going to do is this little wand is literally just tighten on here, and that's it. Be a little tight fit for some of these bottles. I couldn't get this up quite high enough, and remember, the inside piece turns by itself. So you don't have to turn this, otherwise you could loosen it and end up with a lot of beer everywhere. So we have our carb drops, and I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drop them in, all the little ones in the back. Make sure your hands are super clean. If you haven't had a chance, wash your hands really good and then rinse them off. Some of these carb drops are sticking together, so don't put two in one or you will end up with what they call a carb bomb, which means that the bottle will overcarbonate and it could explode, making a very sticky mess. Probably won't hurt anybody unless you step on the glass, but it's something to be highly aware of. And also try to make sure you don't accidentally drop two in one. Okay, they are all good to go. I almost forgot, make sure you clean your bottle caps, make sure they're nice and clean. The super wash should work just fine for that. Okay, so I put this bottling stick on, or wand, whatever you want to call it. And what I'm going to do with the glass is I'm going to show you how this works. As it goes up, it pushes that little button, or release spring, should we say, and the beer starts flowing. And that's it. So let's let that drip so it doesn't drip on my floor. And that's your beer, just not carbonated. Tastes great. It's got a nice dark malty taste, kind of a dark fruity taste. Okay, so we're going to do our first bottle, and I'll do it close up like this so you can see. But as you can see, there's a little ball of carbonation, but it's really a ball of sugar that's going to help with carbonation. What it'll do is it'll reactivate the yeast. Now I'm going to angle this up so you can see as it fills. And keep watching the liquid. We want to go almost to the very top. There we go. Okay, so it was at the very top, and then I bring it down. This is gonna drip. This is kind of why I had a cookie sheet with all the bottles on it. That gives you what they call 2 fingers of space, which you want between the top and the cap, or the liquid and the cap, should we say. So then what you're gonna wanna do is take your cap. You don't have to cap them immediately. You can just set it on top. Just set it on top like that. So that way you're not letting any kind of air get in before you turn around and cap it. So you can do them in little batches. I'm going to repeat this process a few more times so everybody understands, and then we'll turn around and we'll do some capping and call it a day. This is the great thing, because I have a cookie sheet here. So if it drips, it's going to drip on the cookie sheet. Earlier I did drip on the floor, but we'll clean that up later. And you want the liquid to go all the way up to the edge. And when you pull a wand out, the displacement will allow the beer to go back down to a presentable level of where you really wanted it. Same thing, repeat again, and you're just gonna wash, rinse, and repeat. You do the same thing over and over until all your bottles are either full or your beer is empty. And once your beer is empty, the rest of the bottles can go back to wherever they came from. There we go. If you accidentally overflow, just take it down as quick as you can, wipe it off, rinse it off, whatever, after you capped it, but just keep on going. It happens. People won't pay attention and they'll be filling the bottle thinking they got this, and next thing you know, they're pouring 2 bottles worth of beer into 1 bottle. Doesn't work out very well. Okay, capping. We have our bottle, we have our caps, which are right here, all nice and clean. And literally, you just set the bell. There's a bell in here. And I don't mean a bell in a ringing bell, but the shape of a bell. Set it down, a magnet will grab. And you make sure you have plenty of room, which I have not. There we go. And you just push down. And there you go. Lift it up, wipe it off a little, and your beer bottled. You can hear the little sugar thing bouncing around in there. Okay, let's do another one. Same thing again. I'll do a slight angle so I don't hit the bucket. Okay. Okay, we just had a problem. Okay, let's do another one. There we go. Because the bucket's a little in my way, we'll move it over here. Go like this, and you push down, and it caps. Okay. And that's it. And if for any reason you hear something kind of crack or sounds like the glass is breaking because maybe the glass is damaged or too much pressure or whatever it may be, which it's hard to put too much pressure on them, just stop, throw that away. Don't chance anytime you have a bottle start to crack or something like that. It's just not worth the risk. Throw it away. You've lost 12 ounces of beer, not a big deal. Don't try to save it just in case there's any glass. Okay, we're gonna do another one here. And it can happen. I've had a few happen to me over the years. So if you get really thin bottles, don't use those. If you feel cheap, just avoid them. Just nice. These I think are like Sierra Nevada bottles. They work out great. Some New Belgian bottles are very good. And there you go. We're done. We got to bottle a bunch more, but hey, that's how it works. Okay, so I'm going to bottle the rest of these. Suggestion is to let them age for 6 to 8 weeks, but you should taste test it within 2 to 3 weeks. In the first 2 to 3 weeks, you should leave it around room temperature. They're saying 68 or 66 to 73 Fahrenheit. Anywhere in the low 70s is fine. If you're up north, of course, you want it somewhere a little warmer. Try to get it up around at least the 66 or preferably in the low 70s. Once you do that, and you tried one and it tastes great and the carbonation is dead on, you can put them in your fridge. If the carbonation isn't on, it's like, it's a little light, I want it a little more carbonated, let the rest of the bottles sit for another week at a time before you do another taste test. That way you know they're properly carbonated. Good to go. And then if you leave one in the fridge for 6 months and it's a Dubel, it's a dark beer, they age really, really nicely. I mean, you could probably drink one of these easily a year or two later, but you'll probably go through them a little faster than that, especially sharing with friends. Okay, we're gonna let this age a little and then we'll do some taste testing and rock on. Okay, as you saw, we went from fermentation to bottling to, it's been a little over 2.5 weeks. A little early, 3 weeks would probably be a little bit better, but we're gonna go ahead and see if we're ready. This is about the time that you can start putting your labels on. On the labels, I hadn't noticed, but up in the top corner, it says bottled date. So you can put the date you bottled it, and then down here, it's kind of just an open area. You can put whatever the type of beer is that you did. So like, we still have our Divine Deliverance, which is a Belgian IPA, our Flemish Fiend we got recently, a Flemish Brown. You can put that down here so that way your friends know what they're drinking, especially if you're doing different kinds. If not, you can leave it blank and just tell them, especially if they're over at your house or whatever. Break out the coasters, which I didn't realize, but coasters actually come in 2 different colors. So, breaks it up a bit, kind of nice. Free goodies are always nice. Okay, I didn't label it or anything, so let's see how we go. Got a new bottle opener and still learning how to use it. Okay, beer's a little young, but I definitely heard a little carbonation. I see some bubbles up there. Nice glass here. See how we do. That's looking pretty good to me. It's looking really good. Actually, the carbonation is, once I cool it down, it won't be quite as bad. Plus, I kind of poured it to kind of get the carbonation pop up there. There we go. And actually, for bottle conditioning, that's pretty good. I have a little bit of yeast on the bottom. As it's cooled in the refrigerator, you shouldn't have to worry about that stuff coming unstuck and pouring in. And if you do, extra B vitamins, but it is usually a little bitter. So not something I would recommend. I'd love to say this is clear, but this is about as clear as a dark beer gets. Let's see if I can, I can't even shine through it, but hold it up to the light. It's definitely, there's no sediment, nothing. Has a nice smell to it. A Dubel really kind of needs to age. So after about 3 weeks, you pop one open. It tastes good. It's carbonated like this. Go ahead, put them in the fridge. That way you know they're going to be chilled, ready to go. And you can let them, what they call, kind of lager a little bit in the fridge and just sit there for weeks to months and enjoy as you want, or have friends over and enjoy all of them. Oh yeah, that'll work. I'd already kind of stolen a little sip before it was carbonated and noticed that the flavors were dead on, but at the same time, you know, it wasn't carbonated. It wasn't quite where it needed to be. So a little on the dry side. I definitely, towards the end, you kind of get this dry finish, which I love dry beers, so I'm good with that. Same thing with wines. I'm all about the dry. But you get your caramels. I definitely have a little smell of chocolate, just a mild hint of chocolate up on top. A little bit of what they call the burnt sugar, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a very deep, rich taste. Lots of toffee notes. Mild caramel, but toffee. Toffee is all over this thing, which is very typical of a Dubel. This is Dame's Dubel or Dame Dubel, but yeah. Something, I mean, I know there's a lot of all grain brewers out there watching this, but if you're freezing, middle of the snow, you don't want to go outside and get cold, Brewferm's extracts are spot on, really, really good. Usually run on the high side for their original gravities, so you can either go for the high side or add a little bit more water, bring it down a notch, but very, very good beer. I'm wondering what a couple of these would taste like another month from now. I bet it'd be really smooth and kind of mellow out a little more. The dryness probably will not be quite as pronounced, even though it'll still be there. But great beer. Thank you again for joining us here at Bitter Reality Brewing. Don't forget, like, subscribe. Thanks for the sharing. Any and all sharing is great. If you have any friends who have never brewed before, and you know you don't want to kind of bring them over and give them everything you got going on, show them Brewferm. Just get their feet wet. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're not committed to buying a bunch of hardware, you're done. I mean, especially if you get the one with the little bottling top piece. Here we go. Like that. You're good to go. Occasionally you're going to need caps, and you can subscribe. I've already subscribed, so that way I can try all of them and show them to you all so you can see how they come out. Chomping at the bit for the Belgian IPA, but the Flemish Brown is also kind of right in the back of my mind thinking that would be good too. So thank you again for joining us here at Bitter Reality Brewing.